A big step today toward remaking a key but empty part of Pittsburgh. In fact, it's the biggest riverfront site the city has left. Today, City Council signaled its support for the redevelopment plan. And Ken, you've gotten an in-depth look at the plans.
I have, and these are big plans, Christine. City Council's action today approving a TIF preliminarily should help boost the biggest riverfront project here since the waterfront in Homestead was built over a dozen years ago. This next big do-over site, Hazelwood. But don't expect another waterfront. Ideas on how best to use our riverfronts have been refined.
Homestead fell on hard times after its big riverside economic engine, U.S. Steel's Homestead Works, closed in 1986. And Homestead's hard times have largely remained, even though where the mill used to be, there's now this, the sprawling waterfront complex along the Mon River. Stores, big and small, restaurants, residences, and offices. The tax revenue has saved Homestead from bankruptcy. It's a retail success story. But there's not much of a connection to Homestead. The railroad tracks in between don't help. And there's not much of a connection to the river. It's far from the heart of the development, and there's only a trail there.
The waterfront was one step in our history of brownfield redevelopment. It was a radical turnaround for its day, but you're right, there's an 8-lane roadway in between the river and the development. And now we've learned that we can actually face the river and make the riverfront be the premium location.
We're going to make Hazelwood a riverfront community again.
Don Smith is leading the redevelopment of the old LTV site in Hazelwood. It's now called ALMONO for Allegheny, Monongahela, and Ohio. The plan calls for offices and light industrial buildings. They want the site to be a job generator again, but they also want it to be a desirable place to live. They envision varied types of residences, and they want it to be fun with green space, playing fields, maybe a marina, a riverfront development rather than a development that happens to be on a river.
It's why we're here. That river is the reason we're all here as a city. So it makes a lot of sense to just go with the flow, as it were,
yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah. Architect Ken Doino from Rothschild Doino Collaborative led development of the master plan for ALMONO, connecting Hazelwood's existing street grid through the old mill property right down to the water.
It's how things come perpendicular down to the river to connect to the shoreline that brings that value deep into the neighborhoods. That's a new concept for Pittsburgh. How do we get that value deep into the neighborhoods?
You'll have ultimately a seamless feel, and Hazelwood will be a bigger place than it is now.
Today, the ALMONO site remains very raw. There are mounds of fill to be spread, road and stormwater infrastructure work to be done. They're hoping public investment in that infrastructure will help things ramp up.
You look at this and you have to have a pretty good imagination.
You do. We really believe that a riverfront location this close to downtown, this close to the universities and hospitals in Oakland, is just ideally suited. And we just need to have that kind of vision and that faith to make the investment to make it happen.
Don Smith there with RIDC. The ALMONO plan is unusual. The site is owned by 4 foundations. They bought it from LTV years ago. They say they're committed to integrating with the community. No firm timetable, but their goal is to begin building next year. Also back in Homestead, Mayor Betty Esper tells me that the new owners of the waterfront, in place just since last fall, are talking about doing more there to engage the immediate area as well as the riverfront. Now, coming up next hour, I'm going to show you the plans for the big riverfront redevelopment in the Strip District on what some call the most exciting parcel of waterfront property anywhere in North America. That's at 6.